Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zach Brown, and joining with me, as always, is former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. We got a lot to go over today, Dad. We got a big week in sprint car racing, the highest purse sprint car race week ever. So Huset Speedway is a massive, massive purse, $250,000 to win on Saturday. We'll preview that. We'll go over all of our NASCAR stuff, preview NASCAR, and we got NHRA back in action as well as IndyCar. So a full stack of stuff for you this week, and obviously a trivia question. And we're at the end. I'll give you what we're going to do for our top five for next week.
All right, cool. Yeah,
Let's
it's actually Huset's 100,000 to win tomorrow night.
Thursday.
Yep.
It's
so it's a big week.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting for sure. Let's dive right into where we start off. As always, NASCAR recap. Sam Mayer gets a win at Iowa.
Yeah,
and that was a big time win. And he, I think we jinxed Justin Allgaier once again, and he cut a tire, hit the wall. I was worried that these two races were going to not be very good, but it was actually very entertaining races. We had our doubts with it. Christopher Bell kind of got us thinking, maybe it's not going to be good. It really ended up being good. Ryan Blaney, he was probably the second fastest all day behind Larson, who made just a dumb move, trying being too aggressive. And that wasn't dumb on his part, but his dumb that he could trust other people to actually race fairly clean and not hit him. He knew he could make it, but he forgot that other people kind of suck. So that was big. That was pretty much it then. The only driver that could beat Larson was Blaney. Nobody was going to beat Blaney at the end. I think he started just checking out. I thought Byron had a chance to get to him, but Blaney was able to get through the lap traffic pretty much better than everybody else. And he had 80 plus family members there, so that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, we were worried about everybody said the repay wasn't going to let passing. If you're, Larson and Blaney and Byron, Chase Elliott, those guys could pass. So I mean, if your car was right, it could pass, and the track was given enough tire wear that tires were kind of falling off, and you kind of had to conserve tires, and they did have some tire issues, which did bring out some cautions and things, which I hate to say it, but it does make the racing a little bit better.
It wasn't as much as many tire issues that I was expecting after what we saw at practice. I think the track started cooling off and it was rubbered up enough after the Xfinity race. Yeah, I think overall it was good. Unfortunately, AJ Allmendinger had two cut tires in back-to-back races. He had a really hard lick in the Xfinity race. Pretty decent hit in the Cup race too. It's nothing you could do with cut tires like that. But big shout out to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got a top 5 out of Iowa. So that was pretty impressive. And Justin Haley was running up in the top 10 all day. So some drivers you don't really expect to really see hanging around, especially on tracks that are your traditional non-super speedway plate racing tracks.
Well, makes you wonder, new track, maybe the playing field was slightly more level and you see these guys running well. I mean, Stenhouse has been running good like most races. He just ends up crashing or getting into a crash or causing a crash or something like that.
So the interesting fact is that Ryan Blaney now has the first win at Iowa in all three major NASCAR series now. The Truck Series, Xfinity, and the Cup Series, yeah. So obviously he calls Iowa a little bit home now with that win. And, of course, like we were saying, Larson was probably the car to beat all day once again, and just got really aggressive. He was thinking there was a tire going down. It ended up not being a tire going down. They were being safe than sorry. He was making his way up through the field like it was nothing. It was actually incredible to see. And then he gets caught up in, I think, some of the pit stops again and some strategy. He was in the back, and he tried to make it 3 wide. Suarez was one of them. He ended up getting into Larson. I mean, nothing you can really do there. You drove a little too aggressive there, Kyle, which you don't usually hear me say, but yeah, he'll rebound fine. They're fine. Chase Elliott now has the lead in the points though, which he's been the most consistent these last 10 races.
Sure, I thought Larson was up by like 3.
Nope. Chase Elliott has an 8-point lead over Kyle Larson now, which isn't surprising because Chase got third.
Huh.
So yeah, finishing up Iowa, now we're heading back to New Hampshire. Still a small, short track, very flat track. But before we get into that, of course, we're going to give our trivia question for you. Chevy has not won at New Hampshire since 2016. Who was the driver that won?
Kevin Harvick.
Wow, that was good. Yep, very good. I had to actually look through it, and I saw Harvick a couple times. Harvick's won there a lot. I think
Yeah, I know he had. I was trying to figure out if he was in a Chevy in 2016 or not.
Yeah, 16 was 18 and 19 was in a Ford, and I skipped over him in the 16. At first, I thought it was 2012 that Chevy hasn't won, and that was Casey Kane. But Chevy does not win a lot at New Hampshire, so with these next gen cars, maybe that'll be an more even playing field for Chevy. See if they have a chance to be in contention to win this one. But let's give our power rankings this week. It's a big shakeup for me after a pretty crazy day at Iowa. So go ahead with your top 5 and your power rankings going into New Hampshire.
I didn't change mine a whole lot, but I got moving. I'm not sure if my last week's was correct or not. So at 5, I have Christopher Bell. He had a good run going, especially in a backup car. Denny Hamlin, he fell down. I put him down at 4. I didn't drop him out yet. He's still very consistent. He sucked and sucked, and all of a sudden he was there, like in the top 10, and then got into a crash. The next 2 I had trouble because I didn't decide where I wanted to put them. I got 3. I got Ryan Blaney, moved him in. Number 2, I got Chase Elliott, and he's been running good just the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I will give Kyle Larson a pass on this one. The car was super fast, just either caused that wreck or got into a wreck, or however you want to put it. So I don't drop him out for one bad race. He sucks again this week. He's going down.
All right, so my top 5 at number 5, I've got William Byron. Looks like he's starting to slowly get his groove back now after a solid runner-up spot at Iowa. Number 4, I agree with you on these next 2. I've got Denny Hamlin at number 4. I dropped him down a little bit. He was terrible. It was awful. I think he ended up still just outside top 10 after all the crashes and everything, all the chaos that happened. But it was not good. Ryan Blaney is my number 3. I don't even think I had him in the top 5. I have him at honorable mention, probably at number 6 last week. Number 2, I did drop him from the top because, he pretty much was the reason for him wrecking. I put Larson at number 2. And the current points leader, I got Chase Elliott at number 1. I think it's the first time I've had Chase at the top of my power rankings.
Yeah, all Chase right. Kind of getting going maybe sort of at the right time here now.
Yep. Well, let's give your overview of New Hampshire.
Well, it's a 1 mile track, regular standard oval, very flat. The picture behind me has a repave in the corners. I don't know how current that one is. It's worries me with this new car because even though it's a mile, it races more of a short track. It's not going to be near as fast as Iowa. So I don't know how passing is going to be. I don't think there's much of an outside. So I think you're going to have to probably get under them, getting into the corner, and then sort of move them out of the groove. And the key is the drive off. It's reminds me of a twice the size Martinsville, just the way you got to race it.
That's what I was about to say. It's probably going to look similar to Martinsville. They'd be smart if they wanted. I think they still have that, but I think it's slowly getting worn out. But it wouldn't surprise me if they add like a layer of PJ1 on the second groove to add that second groove and add a little bit more racing on it too.
Yeah, like I said, the picture shows like a repave just into the corners. That could possibly help a little bit. It could also possibly make it worse. So it's I would like to see race, like especially a race like this where passing could be difficult. Tire wear would make it a better race. That way, if you're going to balls are hard for the first 20, 30 laps, your tires are going to fall off, or and you got the guys that can save tires and have them come on. You get the comers and goers, and I think it would make it a way better race. Qualifying and a good pit stall is going to be very important.
Yeah, that's for sure. I can almost guarantee it's not going to be as boring as that one race where Jeff Burton led every single lap. So
every lap, I remember that.
Yeah, where they put a restrictor plate on it because they were. I think that was just after Adam Petty died, right?
Yeah,
and they wanted to be as safe
either
as
after
possible.
Adam Petty died or the other. Oh wow, I can't think of what his name is. He was a sprint car racer. Was killed same track. Wow, that's bad.
Before my time. Anyways, so let's get into our fantasy, and our fantasy. You and I are in a tight race right now. I have a 10-point. Yeah. I like to say it's battle for second. It sounds better.
We're catching Mom a bit.
A little bit, but she doesn't have any of those like catastrophic week. I can actually remove her right now. I have the remove button. And yeah, I've got a 10-point cushion over you right now. I had a pretty good week last. You and I were almost tied last week, so that was if Larson didn't crash once again. Every time I have somebody in my lineup and they get towards the end of their most dominant racer and they end up crashing, so that's always cool. So go ahead with your fantasy lineups this week.
So I have he was last year's winner. I think the Toyotas are going to be fast. I have Martin Truex Jr. I put in Bubba Wallace. I just had
a good run. He had a good run last year.
Yeah, I think he could. He's starting to put some decent finishes together here. I love Josh Berry in this week. It's sort of a short track. He's even with the Stuart Haas going on the brink. That car's actually been running very well. I put Denny Hamlin in. He can't have sucky races 2-3 weeks in a row. It just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And I have Christopher Bell in. Like I said, I think Toyotas are going to be fast. In my garage, I do have William Byron. And in my featured matchups, I have Ryan Blaney versus Brad Keselowski. I put Brad on this one. Christopher Bell and Martin Truex. I have Truex, Chase Elliott, and Denny Hamlin. I do have Chase. And Josh Berry versus Ricky Stenhouse. I have Josh Berry.
All right. Well, we definitely have different starters and everything this week. My thing is, I think Fords are going to be fast this weekend. So we're probably both wrong, and Chevys are going to be fast. So my lineup is Brad Keselowski. I've got Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, Austin Cindric. I don't know why. I need to start burning some people. And Ryan Preece is actually the first time I've used Ryan Preece. And he could potentially do decent at that. A late model guy. And I think he was a modified guy as well. He's had experience with New Hampshire, so I could see him running fairly decent there. And in my garage, I have Ryan Blaney. So worst come to worst, I'll move one of them, and I think he'll still be fine. Ryan Blaney versus Brad Keselowski in the matchups. I have Ryan Blaney. Christopher Bell versus Martin Truex Jr. I've got Christopher Bell. Chase Elliott versus Denny Hamlin. I've got Chase in this one. He's been consistent. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. versus Josh Berry. I've got Josh Berry.
And we have two the same, two different.
They don't even have good picks this week. It's a hot pick. They got a couple hot picks. Hot picks are two drivers that you have, Truex and Denny Hamlin.
Oh, it's funny. I didn't even notice that.
It says avoid Alex Bowman. They say that, but Alex Bowman has 10 top 10 finishes this year, and momentum is a huge thing in racing, like we've talked about. It doesn't mean he's going to be bad in this one. Actually, I think
the sleeper's different this week, finally.
Well, it says avoid William Byron. Still don't agree with all this. And it says sleepers Chase Briscoe. We'll see about that. I still think the sleeper could be Chris Buescher. All right, so Xfinity and Cup this week. Let's give our picks. Who's your pick for the Xfinity series?
Well, I'm probably going to jinx him again, but I got Justin Allgaier for Xfinity.
And I've got Cole Custer for the Xfinity. He's actually the points leader right now for Xfinity. So.
Oh, no kidding. Is he points leader?
Yeah. I'm done jinxing Allgaier. Who's your pick for the Cup series?
All right, so I picked Denny Hamlin for the Cup. And Mom's pick, she's like, hometown track for him. She picked Joey Logano.
I am going probably a pretty big dark horse right now. I just mentioned, and they said to avoid him. He's got 10 top 10 finishes this year. He's been more and more consistent. If he could get actually good qualifying run for once, he will be up in contention. I've got Alex Bowman winning this race.
Okay.
He's plus 6,000 to win this race.
Yeah, put some $10 on that one.
I may have. But he's gonna win this year. This track can race pretty similar to Phoenix. It can race similar to Martinsville. Alda Hendricks ran good at Martinsville. He runs good at both tracks. I think he can run really well here. I think it's the first time I've picked Bowman ever. I think that does it for the Cup Series. This episode is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a live entertainment platform rethinking ticketing by caring more about their fans, teams, and venues. They are powering a new open entertainment industries where fans have effortless access to experiences in teams, venues, and shows, and have seamless access to their audiences. With trusted consumer marketplace and innovative enterprise ticketing technology, SeatGeek has what you need for any sporting event. Make sure you use my promo code ZBMedia to get $20 off your purchase from SeatGeek. That is ZBMEDIA from SeatGeek, $20 off. You can't beat that. Check them out now. Get your next concert, sporting event, or anything else from SeatGeek. Back to the show. Let's do IndyCar, heading into Laguna Seca.
Yeah, so this is kind of a cool track. It's 2.238 mile, 11 turns, and they have what they call the famous corkscrew in turns 8 and 8A. It's kind of an S that goes downhill, so you got elevation changes and everything. So it's kind of a neat track. That's a slow corner. I don't think it's really a passing opportunity. It's just kind of cool when you see about 20 cars lined up, and when they're going down through there like single file, it does look like a corkscrew going down through there. So that's pretty cool. It's a very historic road track, road course. So that I think they've been racing there a long time. It seems like anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those historic tracks, and a lot of different series race there, and it's I don't know why it feels like it's really cool to say too. I don't know, I'm weird, but it's very iconic road course. I think it'll put on a heck of a show. IndyCar's been really good. Even the road courses and street courses, they've put on really good shows too. It hasn't been just one person out in a 10-second, 20-second lead like in some series that you see, Formula One. And the battle for the points lead, we mentioned it last week. Will Power's in the points lead, but you can never count out Scott Dixon. You've still got Alex Palou up there. You've got all the Penske's racing really well. It's really anybody's series that can win this. So let's give our IndyCar pick. Who do you got?
So and this guy, outside of that one race where he just absolutely dominated, he really hasn't been much. So he's got to be due here. So I got Alex Palou.
I feel like you've been just trying to between Justin Allgaier.
I got to get it right one of these times.
Well, I've got Felix Rosenqvist on this one.
Okay,
he's been racing pretty well on these street courses and road courses, and I think he's due to get a win. All right,
NHRA.
Yeah, NHRA's back in action. They are at Virginia Motor Complex, and all four series will be racing there this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't look up to see exactly where this was. I don't know if it's just outside of Richmond. I was thinking
it Virginia.
Was. Yeah, I know it's in Virginia. The one interesting thing, at the elevation of the track is 170 feet above sea level.
So pretty much sea level.
Yeah, so I mean it's down there. So you're going to be talking good air. That's what I think you're going to see high speeds out of the naturally aspirated cars like the Pro Stock motorcycle. And some of the sportsman classes, I think, will have some pretty good racing there. The Top Fuel, they just make so much power. I don't think it makes much difference anymore. Yeah. So hopefully, there's nothing special about the track other, so hopefully they have two good lanes where the Top Fuel cars can hook up and just don't smoke the tires the whole way down the whole day. We saw one of them at Charlotte. It was just awful. It was so hot they just couldn't hook up to nothing.
Yeah. It's been humid in the South. I don't know how Virginia's been, but down here it's definitely been. We've had a little bit of a heat wave, so that it could be potentially very slick at the very slick track, and the grip could be hard to come by. I don't think we need to give anything for our motorcycle pick once again.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to go against them, even though he wasn't even the number one qualifier, but he still ended up winning.
I don't think he tries to be the number one qualifier. He's like, He's like, fine, I'll just go down the track and get into the race, and we'll go from there. Until he proves me wrong. That's the only. And actually, I've never seen it before, and I didn't do any bets on this, but I happened to see it. And they actually have an NHRA in the sports books this week, and the only one that out of any driver in any series that has a minus is Gage Herrera. So yeah, Gage Herrera is both of our picks. Who do you have for pro stock?
I'm gonna go back. Greg Anderson on this one. I keep picking Erica. She keeps sucking, so we're gonna go to Greg Anderson.
Well, I'm gonna pick Erica because she's got to be due here. You can only be so bad so long, so it's not so bad. Just hasn't won in a while. So, funny car. Who do you got?
So right now, it sure seems like the Force cars and Matt Hagan seem to be the class of the field. So so I'm going to go with the Force cars, and I'm going to go with the boss man, John Force.
Well, I'm going to go with Matt Hagan.
Okay.
You mentioned him. Yeah. I was torn between him and Austin Prock, but I'm going to go with Matt Hagan on this one. He's due. It's been about a month. I think he's due. And funny car. Top Fuel. Who do you got?
So Top Fuel is the toughest one. It seems like anybody can win on this one.
Don't pick Steve Torrence.
Schumacher winning last week, and I'm not going to pick Steve Torrence and jinx him this week. So I'm going to go Team Coletta. I have Sean Langdon.
Okay. I'm actually kind of going deep in my bag again. She hasn't had a great run this year, but you can only keep her down so long. I've got Brittany Force in this one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even remember she won last year. If she did, it was only like one. So she's been struggling for a little while here now. Don't know why. Especially when the funny cars are so good.
I got a couple definitely underdogs this week for all my races. So we'll see if any of them work out. Probably not. All right. So I think that does it for all the asphalt. So let's go into World of Outlaws, where we just finished up at Knoxville. I will say this. I don't think Knoxville needed to have that other series, or they needed to start it earlier, because that was late-ass racing on the East Coast. The track was phenomenal. I will give them that. The track was absolutely amazing, and they wanted to make sure it was in pristine condition for the feature race, especially the first night when they had to work on it a little extra time. But if you're going to do all that and you have another series, and you got to plan for they start everything up. Hot lap start at 5 o'clock or whatever, especially Saturday too. Like, you don't need to start it that late on a Saturday.
Yeah, when there's 6410 cars, you don't need another 60. I don't even know what the first class were. They 305s or something the first night.
305s were the first night, and then 360s.
And then the 360s. That's just so much racing. Yeah, and like you said, they were actually complaining, and not they, by the Knoxville track guys. They didn't like the way the track was the first night, which, considering as many cars were on there, I thought it held up very well.
Yeah, I think Knoxville takes a lot of pride in making sure their track is in great condition, and this was kind of a dress rehearsal for their Knoxville Nationals too, and they want to make sure everything is done right. They want to get into that
that's groove. Another reason for having that many cars, though.
Yep.
To see what the track takes. So I mean,
and I think it was great racing. Big time shout out to Darren Pittman, the 69K team. They got 6th the first night, 13th the second night. Struggled a little bit the second night, but still,
Knoxville was fast time the second night.
Yeah, fast time. Won the heat both nights. No, he got second the heat.
Yes,
the second night. But still made the dash both nights, and just luck of the draw. That's normal. That's about what we'd expect out of any team.
But being for the third and fourth time in the car, he did pretty darn good job. Going Knoxville's not an easy place, so it's,
and he hasn't been to Knoxville. I think he said like almost 10 years or something. So I think it was great for them to get stuff figured out, and they'll be ready to go, get some things done, work on some things, and hopefully have a shot to win the Nationals in a couple months. The first night, this is kind of the story of the weekend in Iowa, I think. Kyle Larson was the car to beat until something happened, and his car went blah. I mean, it blew up.
Yeah, that thing was absolutely on a rail.
He was gone.
He started what, 10th?
10th or 11th. Yeah, and
he was just mowing off cars like that thing looked like it was going 40-mile-an-hour faster through the center of the corner than anybody else. It's unreal how straight he keeps that car.
And just getting back to the gas quicker than I think everybody.
There was only one driver got off the gas.
There was only one car. Yeah, there was only one car that would have beaten David Gravel, and it was Kyle Larson. Like I said, this kind of seems to be the theme of Iowa that whole weekend. But yeah, David Gravel gets the win the first night. This is the impressive win that was the second night, though, was Corey Day. That kid goes to Knoxville, and I think it's his first time at Knoxville.
Yeah, that's unreal.
He holds off Donnie Schatz, of all people,
who's
to win at
Knoxville.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Donnie Schatz, he actually is in second place in points now, so don't look now.
I saw that.
But he's making up ground. He's only 56 behind Gravel, and you can make up that easily in one day.
We're getting to some of the, we're getting into the summer. The tracks are slicking off. He's really good on that stuff.
But look out, because we're about to head into Huset. Let's dive into actually previewing it now. Kind of goes well. The technical sponsor of David Gravel.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I think David Gravel won this last year too. This is where he could potentially pull away from people in the point standings if he puts together some races. This is a really cool event. This is I don't know how they were able to get this out of Huset's of all places. Get this thing put together, because that place was up for sale a couple years ago, and they were able to save it. And that kind of goes with a lot of tracks that were that have been saved in the last few years. But you bring these high purses in. You bring there's over 60 cars now registered for this race. Pretty much all the high limit guys.
Looks like Larson is running.
Larson's race. He'd be stupid not to. I mean, that's a big payday, and it doesn't even conflict with anything. They race Saturday and then race till Sunday on New Hampshire. But Rico's racing. Pretty much all the high limit guys are racing. Corey Day's racing. Brad Sweet. This is going to be an incredible event. It's actually starting as we're talking. Starts tonight. And I think it's a similar type of point system that they do for the Knoxville Nationals.
Well, it's two separate events, Thursday and Friday. For Wednesday and Thursday, like I said, Thursday pays $100,000 to win, and then Saturday. And I don't think the first two nights have any effect on the last night. I believe they're separate events, if I read that correctly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at the entry list right now. What kind of pops out to me? It's Rico's one of them, obviously. Justin Henderson's got a ride. He's in a different car this week than he had at Iowa, but he's there. Let's see. Larson is entered. I don't see any ones that kind of shocks me. Yeah, they're all there. Did I miss Corey Day? Corey Day's not registered.
I'd be shocked if he's not there. But it seems like we've had a couple weeks of high limit versus Outlaws, and the high limit guys seem to have been, had the upper hand. So we'll see how this goes this time.
Yeah. Well, the only pick I'm going to give is for, you said it's Thursday and then Saturday are the big days?
Yeah.
Well, we'll do the picks for those 2 days.
Okay.
And because I don't really know how all the formats work with those 2 other days, how it all shakes out. So the 2 big paydays, let's give picks for that. And I'm going to assume Corey Day's there, but I'm not going to pick him for either one just to be on the safe side. It wouldn't surprise me if Corey Day is in contention to win these races, because he goes anywhere the first time, it's like it's nothing for him. It's like he's been there his entire career. So, all right. So Thursday, the $100,000 race to win, which is already incredible to win. Right. Who's your pick for this one?
Kyle Larson.
Shocker.
Yeah. Out of the 4 I have 2 Outlaws and 2 high limit guys.
Okay. Well, like I said, I wanted to give just the 2 big ones. So,
all right, Sheldon, you're lucky we're not picking you on those 2 nights, so you're okay.
Well, you are. You aren't. Actually, I'm not picking Sheldon either. But yeah, his luck's so bad. He's 7th in points now.
I know it.
And he's not. And
he's got like 8 wins or something.
7 wins, and he's. Yeah. But yeah, it's just this is what happens. All right. So for the $100,000 race, I've got the big cat, Brad Sweet, for this one.
Okay.
All right, who's your $250,000 race winner?
Your pick from Thursday night. I got Brad Sweet taking home the big money.
I got back-to-back years of the guy that's conveniently sponsored by the track. I've got David Gravel.
I had him, then I deleted it, and I put in Sweet, and then I moved Gravel to Friday night.
Like I said, I think it's a good week for Gravel if he's going to try to extend his point lead. You have 4 races here, and if you run well in each of these, this is your shot, your chance to pull away. If you struggle at all and you give Donnie Schatz any opportunity to close that gap, look out. Because
especially with the high limit guys there, so they could easily be taking up some point spots between, those cars where, all of a sudden it could be 1 or 2 spots between, say, Gravel and Schatz. Now it might be 5 spots. So, I mean, that.
Yeah,
but it could also go the other way. So,
realistically, there's 4 people battling for the championship now. Buddy Kofoid is 5th, but he's 142 out. You can make that up, but you're not going to make it up on David Gravel, Donnie Schatz, Carson Macedo, and Giovanni Scelzi.
Yeah.
So one of those is going to do well, and I think this is a big week for Outlaws. I am really excited to see this.
Yeah, I might have to flip that on, see what we got going on here after our show's over.
They're probably actually firing. It's, I think, an hour or 2 behind us, so they're probably getting time trials right now, if I had to guess. Yeah. When we're recording it. So, all right, we're going to get back into our top 5 action starting next week. I want to do this one, the top 5 best NASCAR drivers that have never won a championship.
Okay. Let me find my top 5 notes. Here we go.
All right. Well, make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, follow, share everywhere. Make sure you check us out on all social media platforms and follow wherever you get your podcasts. And give us your list of who you think the best non-champion drivers are for the NASCAR Cup Series of all time. Yep. We will get back in action next week and see how this $1 million purse over this next 4 days for Huset pays out. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It'll be really cool to see. So we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.